Many organisations are struggling to get ahead when it comes to their customer data. In this episode, we're going to cover some of the key areas you might not be thinking about and talk through a data strategy I worked on to help spark some ideas. Welcome to the Customer Smarts podcast, where you'll discover smarter ways to deliver customer experiences. I'm your host, Justin Stafford, and I've been helping big brands with digital transformation and CX strategy for many years. There are three things I'm going to cover. Number one, the importance of data. Number two, how to generate better quality data. And number three, I'm going to talk you through a data strategy I developed. Starting with section one, the importance of data. Now, most marketers and CX folk already understand why, but I'm going to give you my take on it. Customer data has become the new gold. Just look at the top 4 most valuable brands in the world in 2022. You've got Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook a little further down the list. Now, the common thread there is the amount of customer data they all have and how they use it. Also, look at the companies that we can't live without today that didn't really exist 15 years ago, like Netflix, Uber, and Spotify. They're all data-driven companies who have massively disrupted their respective industries. They get to know you through data to provide the most relevant experience possible. Now, this data-driven personalization has set a new benchmark for customer experiences for all brands. And the bar is continually rising. I've heard people complain that it's hard to find something to watch on Netflix. It's funny, isn't it? Once we experience something great, we expect more, which is why I think 95% of execs say that customer expectation is growing faster than they can evolve. It's also why hyper-personalization, or personalization at scale, is at top of mind for every senior marketer and business leader. However, many are finding it difficult to deliver personalization because of poor data quality, or they're just simply struggling to use data effectively. Moving on to section 2, how to generate better quality data. We're going to talk through 9 key points to help you improve your data quality. Number 1, education, mindset, and cultural change. Large organizations who are structured in silos often find implementation the hardest, especially when it comes to unifying the use of data. With many teams working in isolation, they're often faced with a complex technical web of fragmented data with ranging accuracy. On top of that, there's typically a big education, mindset, and cultural change piece that needs to take place. Businesses need to adopt the mindset that every single time a potential customer interacts with you, they're telling you something. So data capture and maintenance is everyone's job. You want to move to a culture where everyone in the organization has a role to play in building customer intelligence together. Customer data is your fuel. Number 2, consolidating data into a single customer view. Most large organizations have been on or are still on a data consolidation journey, cleaning data and working with data technology providers to consolidate into a single customer view. And by single customer view, I mean a centralized customer database for the entire organization. It's often an enormous task, but critical in enabling you to serve your customers with accuracy, which for me is the base level of delivering customer experience. Number 3, focusing on dynamic data. I've seen quite a few cases of businesses hitting a really big frustration point after they go through a mass data integration to get their data into a single customer view. In those instances, the majority of the data was static. And by static data, I mean data that doesn't allow you to help the customer with what they're looking to do now. For example, name, age, address, and sometimes even product purchase history. The fact that a customer bought a particular type of phone a year ago doesn't really tell you that much about their needs right now. Unless they are heavy repeat customers with obvious trends, then it becomes far more insightful. Don't get me wrong, static data is critical to have, but it can only help you deliver the base level customer service. Dynamic data, on the other hand, are data points that continually change. For example, people's interests, needs, and goals often change over time. For example, a year ago, Sally might have focused on buying a mountain bike, but today she's thinking about going traveling. It's obviously very difficult to predict what your potential customers might be looking to do next and when. However, through their interactions with your content or stores and the behaviours they display, you can get some indications of their interest in particular goals. This is where organisations need to get far smarter at creating helpful content and experiences and building smart data capture into the design to help you capture intent data, especially with the changes to third-party cookies in Google Chrome, which will increase the importance of first-party data. It's certainly not easy to do, but the best place to start is by genuinely trying to help your customers earlier on in their journey when they're not even ready to buy yet, with helpful content, tools, and services. Focus on becoming the most helpful brand in your category. For example, if your customers are looking to buy a car, then write the best guide to buying a car. Or build the most helpful car selector tool and capture data at the most appropriate times along the way. Their interactions indicates a level of interest, but it's important not to jump the gun and go into hard sell mode if they aren't ready to buy or commit. You need to adopt a more nurturing approach. Number 4, turning data into customer intelligence. Data on its own is just numbers. It's on the organisation to turn those numbers into insights and then onto improvements for your customers. This is where having clear and unified customer segmentation is critical, as it allows you to better organise your data and move quicker from customer insight to improvement. At the end of the day, this is how you're going to win the customer experience game in your category, and many organisations are struggling with this. Number 5, getting creative with data strategy. You don't see a lot of creativity when it comes to data strategy. Not enough businesses are thinking ahead to what data you need to capture to better help customers and how to get it. Data collection is often very functional, and it's not a great experience from a customer perspective. I'm sure you've had to fill out plenty of annoying forms in your lifetime. As I was saying before, if you help customers earlier on in the journey at a time of need, it's a great opportunity to help them in exchange for their data, which is known as a value exchange. However, a massive big warning right here. You have to offer genuine help and value to the customer. If you try and shortchange them, it'll piss them off, and we've all experienced this. It's horrible. To give you a positive example, I recently developed a home buying guide and property inspection checklist as part of a project for a client. In the process, we captured customer emails and then put them on a nurture pathway. In the first 6 weeks of the trial, with $3,000 in social media ads as a test, we generated over 1,200 downloads, which equated to a $1.8 million market for the client, which shows if you build the most helpful content and tools in your category, customers are going to throw data at you. Number 6, building data capture into the design process. I mentioned this in a previous episode, but not many companies think this far ahead. It's not natural for most UX designers to think about data collection unless it's part of the brief. It's important to think about how you can capture data in the design to drive other parts of the customer experience. Every interaction is an opportunity, as we said before. Number 7, obsession with relevance. There's a lot of talk about personalization, which can be a little confusing for some, but at its core, it's about relevance to the customer. For every single project, you should be asking, what data should we be capturing to make this experience more relevant for the customer? The most relevant brand for the customer typically wins. Once again, the earlier in the journey you help them, the more relevant you can make the experience for them. Number 8, data privacy. One of the biggest challenges is privacy. Customers are becoming more and more concerned about the data that companies are collecting about them. So it's important to be transparent about what data you're collecting and how you're going to use it to help them. But once again, if you create helpful experiences for customers before they're ready to buy and explain why you need your data, then they'll throw data at you. Number 9, data management and governance. It takes a lot of time, money, and effort to get a consolidated customer data set. So you want to ensure that there is an ongoing management plan. Keeping data clean and accurate is a constant challenge. And it's easy for individuals to slip into old habits of capturing data in silos, with random spreadsheets and databases appearing here and there. This is why it's so important to have governance in place, and once again why it's critical to have a well-defined purpose and culture around data, where it's everyone's job to help build customer intelligence together. For the last section, section 3, I'm going to talk through a data strategy example that helped change the mindset and culture around data in an organization. I was working for a professional football team and developed an overarching data strategy for the business side of the team. Prior to the project, each of the departments, membership, media, digital, sponsorship, and community, were interested in the value of data for their own department, but were unable to connect the pieces together. So data was essentially getting used in silos. So the first step was defining the role of data in the business side of the team, which actually involved looking at the business from a macro point of view and redefining the business model. There were two core customers. Number one, fans, where revenue came from memberships and fan merchandise. And number two, sponsors and advertisers, where revenue came from sponsorship agreements or advertising placements on the team's media properties. Now at the time, the team had 489,000 fans, but could only fit 60,000 members into their home stadium. They also had a membership waitlist which had existed for around 25 years. So there was limited growth potential from that customer group, which meant the focus of the business growth was on helping sponsors and advertisers get more value from their investments. To create more value for this customer type, we needed to improve the quality of the fan engagement and the audience data. When you looked at it from an operations point of view, each department had an overlap with the fan audience, even the players. So the fan audience became the key connecting piece. The focus of the business model became increase the value of the fan audience. Then data's role became really clear. For sponsors and advertisers, it was about measure and demonstrate the fan audience value. And for fans, it was about using data to enhance their experience to increase engagement. This clarity helped each department have a much stronger connection to the core data goals and helped them understand the role that they play, which really helped improve the overall culture around data. So to sum up the episode, when you think more holistically and creatively about data, doors open. If you found this insightful, make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button now, as we have some great episodes coming up. And if you have any questions or would like any help with the issues I talked through today, then reach out to us at customersmarts.co. Catch you next time.